Hello, beautiful person. I am glad you are here, or at least watching the video. But we are here today on this Friday Lifeline talking about this question that was sent in to me. I'm going to read it to make sure I have it just right. How do we balance the end? Oh, hold on, let me start that again. How do we balance enjoying the end of humanity with environmental activism? And I love this question for so many reasons, in part because it has the answer embedded right in it. Enjoy. If we are not in joy, we are not going to be useful, functional, healthy advocates for the planet, for our kin, our brothers and sisters, the trees, the birds, the animals, and the rest of creation. That is, if there's one takeaway, you must be in joy in order to be a useful advocate for the planet. And I found this really great quote. It just so happened to pop up in my feed today. I love how that happens. Joy doesn't betray, but sustains activism. And when you face politics that aspire to make you feel fearful, alienated, and isolated, joy is a fine act of insurrection. And Rebecca Solnit said that. And how do we be in that joy? How do we dance around all happy when we see the atrocious destruction and injustices happening across all of life? Part of that is learning how to number one, stay in connection. Connection is hard because it's not just the love and the beauty and the joy that you feel and experience. It's the pain and it's the sorrow and it's the grief. So what can happen is people feel the intensity of that connection, the sadness, the grief, all of it, and they cut the cord, they disconnect, because sometimes you feel like the better choice is not feeling anything than feeling the deep sorrows along with the great love and enchantment and magical and awe of all of life. So the number one thing that you need to do is maintain connection, because I want to make sure I get this. Okay, because if you are not in that place of connection, then you are not going to be functional as a being on this planet who contributes to the full functioning of life. And there's four threads of those connection. There's connection with yourself. You must be on a very regular basis doing things to maintain your health, body, mind, and soul. Connection with the physical earth herself, being very in tune, learning, really paying attention and being embedded with the rest of life, not just walking through it, but knowing the birds and the trees that you share your life with and really being in communion with them. Number three is being in connection with whatever is larger than yourself, whatever personal cosmology, whatever spiritual path that you have for yourself, whether it's a specific religion like Catholicism, Buddhism, Muslim, whatever it is, make sure that you're maintaining that connection, or whatever type of connection to spirit, creator, whatever life force, universal energy that you want to maintain that connection with. And I blend those two, because for me, my spiritual connection is with the land herself, Gaia, the anima mundi, the soul of the world. It is all one being for me, and I feel very embedded in that being at oneness with all creation. So my connection rituals are one and the same. And truly, there must be daily rituals and regular set ceremonies that you are using as points of connection between you, yourself, the earth, and spirit. And this is not just like I'm going to go for a hike once a month and I'll be all recuperated and rejuvenated. That's not how it works. There must be daily and regular ceremonies embedded. And that's, I realized just as I was about to click on here, that is the entire basis of the Sacred Nature course that I teach, the 8-week course. Is the entire purpose of it is to make sure that people are happy, healthy, spiritual beings so that they can be of best service to the rest of creation, to the planet, to the trees and everything else that are your kin. So those connections are there. And then you must be in connection with community, your community of people who are like-hearted individuals who see and feel and experience the awe of life just the way that you do. And that's not to say that you shouldn't have any kind of connection with people in your physical real life community who don't. You cannot avoid those, but you must know who your people are. You need to be able to lean back into the arms of those people and say, this is hard right now, I need your help, so that they can hold you. Because what I have been reminded of in working on this button hook project, I don't know if you have seen it, but I'm working on a local community project right now to save 20 acres from development, not just the 676 trees that are on it, but the traditional, the indigenous native prayer stones that are on there, that we've discovered them there, we rediscovered them there, and we're trying to get it protected. And there is a group of us working towards the same goal, and we meet on a regular basis. And what I was reminded of, because I haven't worked on a team like this in a while for an earth-related reason, that we can all lean on each other and be affirmed on a very regular basis that we are not the crazy ones, that we are not crazy, silly, hippie snowflakes because we want to save this ecosystem. Because, I don't know, maybe we want our children to be able to breathe and have a life and sustaining systems in place, things like that. But when we are all together, we are reminded that those people who are saying the bad and derogatory things both about us and the planet, it reminds us that we are not the crazy ones, that our vulnerability is our strength, and that we have the wisdom and the knowledge that will keep humanity going. And that those people who are only looking at profit, who are sitting in greed, and who are sitting in hate, that is their weakness. And it's a very sad existence for them. Because can you imagine not being able to love to the fullest expression of who you are, and look outside and be outside and experience the complete awe of life? Because I promise you that they are incapable of that. If they are in so much anger and greed and hatred, they are incapable of seeing absolute beauty and experiencing the awe of it all. So hand that up. So be with your people, and I cannot stress how important that is. So the big chunk in the very beginning here was points of connection. You must be in connection in order to maintain your own healthy balance, to be in peace, to be in love. Because if you are not those things for yourself, you are not going to be able to be those things for others. And by others, I don't just mean other humans, but other beings, non-human beings that are out there. So you must be that for yourself. And connection is the first way to do that. Connection to self, earth, others, and spirit, and the ancestors are in that category as well. The next one is understanding that at some points, because life is real rough, I don't know if you've noticed this before, at some points that those connections and the peace and your love and your harmony is going to get rocky. And then when that happens, the first thing you're going to do is pause and take a step back. You're not going to drop the line. You're not going to say, fuck this shit, I'm out. You're not going to totally leave and abandon the planet and your community. You're just going to pause and take a step back. And you're going to rest. And you're going to understand that you need to do what you can when you can, but you need to prioritize your physical, spiritual, and emotional health so that you can get back in the game. And what you're also going to do is stop watching and reading and listening to every tragedy and report that comes out if it is not useful for you. If it sends you to a place of depression, honey, please stop doing that. This is so essential that you hear me on this point. At this moment in time, I promise you, you understand all of the scientific facts. You don't need any more proof that things are bad. Things are also really good and beautiful. So take a pause on all of the taking in of new information. If that new information sends you to a place of dismay, despair, or depression, I didn't even mean to do that, the 3 Ds. If it puts you in a place of anger and rage and a desire to act, go ahead, do those things. That's, for the most part, that's how I get fueled. But I do take breaks. I take like 6 months hiatuses where, I don't look at the next IPCC report. I don't know if I got those letters right, but you know what I mean. Where are we at? Okay, focus on the wins. This is really important. The wins don't always get, not wins, but the wins, they don't always get the right publicity that they should because they're not as sexy as the really catastrophic, dramatic things that are happening out there. But I promise you, you can find people on social media and in your life who are very willing to talk about all of the beautiful and the wonderful things that are happening. And pay close attention to this button hook, preserve button hook project that we are on right now, because I have faith that in the end we will win and we will be able to preserve it, and then we can all celebrate that together. But if you don't know about it beforehand and are not in like the trials and the tribulations with us, then you're not going to be able to celebrate. Next, and this is the last point I want to make, don't fight with people who are simply in it for the fight. There are people, and lots of people, who are not actually engaged in a battle with others because they feel like they're right, or because they're trying to change your mind about something. They're simply in it for the fight. You are never going to change their mind. They do not want their mind to be changed. Facts, just telling them how it is not going to change their mind either. These are not the people that you are going to convert. Put your hands up, back up from their situation. It is not worth it. What you need to understand is that there are people that will feel inspired by you, who will be excited to hear your stories and to watch you lead by example, and that will shift their decisions and their life and how they interact with the world and form to help move and create momentum in their own activism. Those are the people you need to focus on. And I promise there's plenty of them out there. And if we all just have a group of people that we are working to help evolve with us and bring us back to the land and make really good choices for the planet, it will keep us going to the point until finally there is a tipping point. Because this is important to say, that in every individual human needs to be doing their part, but it's actually the corporations and the governments that need to make the final decisions to actually make really big action happen. But they can't do that without us saying, hey, you need to do that. And we can't say, hey, you need to do that unless we're doing it for ourselves. So I know that there are some camps of people who say it's only the governments and corporations that need to do things. And then other people say, because those people say, because it doesn't matter that individuals are doing them or not. But what happens there is it matters to the individual. They want to know that they're doing and living in reciprocity, living in a good way with the land. That's really what matters. And then there's other people who say every individual needs to be doing those things, and F the corporations. And it really does need to be both, but they both need to happen in tandem. I do believe that the grassroots movement will be the thing to create the final tipping points for the planet, for the governments to make their changes and corporations, but we need to actually get there. So those were the really big things I wanted to make sure I said today. Connection is definitely the biggest key, and love. There is an elder who I've had the privilege of sitting with a couple of times in circles and learning environments. His name is Ilarion Kuyuk Merkuliev. He is from the like way out in Alaska. The organization that he has co-founded is Wisdom Weavers. You can look them up. It's a really lovely organization, and there's a brief 15-minute documentary on elders from around the world sharing a message to the young people who are working in efforts for the planet. And what he has said over and over again to me is, to us, is love is the only thing that matters. You need to be in a place of love with yourself, with others, with the rest of kinship. And that is the only thing that matters. And it might feel reductionist because you can't just say, well, you know, fine, just love. But when you can splash truly in the waters of expansive love, which you get through all of those points of connection, then it makes a huge difference. It feels a much richer love and a more healing love for ourselves and for others. So that's all I wanted to say for today. I went a teensy bit longer than I had anticipated, but I love you so much. Pop your questions in the chat if you've got follow-up questions. We can talk about it next time. This is a much larger conversation, I promise, and this was just like a tapas style to get you kicked off and going. Okay, I love you. Have a beautiful weekend. Be safe.